Europe is a small place, but it's had a really big impact on the world. For a super long time, Europe has been powerful, shaping what happens around the globe and even how people live. From the Americas to Asia, you can see Europe's influence everywhere. How did such a small area become so powerful? It's a mix of history, where it's located, and smart people. Europe's journey to becoming a global power is a long and interesting story. It's a story of exploring new places, sometimes taking them over and making cool new discoveries. It's also a story of new ideas, of societies that love learning and getting better. Understanding this story helps us understand the world we live in today. Europe's early history is filled with the rise and fall of civilizations. From the ancient Greeks and Romans to the Celts and Vikings. The Roman Empire, in particular, left a lasting legacy with its innovations in governance, engineering, and culture. The Middle Ages saw the rise of feudalism, the spread of Christianity, and the formation of powerful kingdoms and empires. Figures like Charlemagne played crucial roles in uniting large parts of Europe and fostering a sense of shared identity. The Renaissance was a period of great cultural and intellectual growth, with figures like Leonardo da Vinci and Galileo Galilei pushing the boundaries of art and science. The Age of Exploration expanded Europe's horizons, leading to the discovery of new lands and the establishment of trade routes. Influential figures like Isaac Newton, Marie Curie, and many others made groundbreaking contributions that shaped the modern world. Europe's colonial empires spread their influence far and wide, impacting cultures, economies, and societies across the globe. Today, Europe's legacy continues through its institutions, cultural contributions, and global collaborations. Europe's rise to power started a long time ago. European countries, wanting riches and resources, sailed around the world. These trips led them to discover and then take control of lots of land across the globe. Taking over places in the Americas, Africa, and parts of Asia gave Europe a lot of wealth and resources, making it grow stronger and more powerful. This happened around the same time as another big change, the Industrial Revolution. Starting in the 1700s, Europe saw tons of new inventions. New machines powered by steam and coal changed how things were made and how people traveled. Europe's factories started making stuff super fast, making it even more powerful and rich. Key inventions like James Watt's steam engine and the spinning jenny revolutionized industries. Railways and steam locomotives made transportation of goods and people faster and more efficient. The Industrial Revolution not only boosted Europe's economy, but also transformed its society. Europe's industrial might allowed it to dominate global trade, spreading its influence worldwide. The wealth generated from industry and trade further solidified Europe's power and control over its colonies. Urbanization and technological advancements continued to drive Europe's dominance well into the 19th and 20th centuries. Where Europe is located also helped it become powerful. Being between Asia, Africa, and the Americas was a great spot for trading and exploring. Its long coastlines and rivers were like natural roads for ships, connecting faraway lands and making it easy to trade goods and ideas. Plus, Europe has lots of different types of land and plenty of natural resources. From good farmland to lots of coal and iron, Europe had what it needed to power its growing industries and feed its people. Key trade routes like the Silk Road and the Age of Exploration routes opened up new markets and brought wealth to Europe. These routes allowed Europe to dominate global trade, exchanging goods like spices, silk, and precious metals. European explorers and traders established colonies and trade networks that spanned the globe, further enhancing their economic power. This influx of wealth and resources fueled the Renaissance and the Industrial Revolution, making Europe a center of innovation and culture. While being in the right place at the right time was important, Europe's real strength was its people and their ideas. Europe has a long history of thinking hard and exploring science. From the ancient Greeks who started Western philosophy and science, to the Renaissance thinkers who questioned old beliefs, Europe has always been a place where people thought up new things. This focus on education and new ideas created a culture of progress. European societies put a lot of effort into education, building universities and research places that attracted the smartest people. This led to amazing discoveries and inventions, from the printing press to the steam engine, which made Europe a leader in global progress. Key thinkers like Isaac Newton, who formulated the laws of motion and gravity, and Galileo Galilei, who made groundbreaking observations in astronomy, played crucial roles. Leonardo da Vinci's contributions spanned art and science, while Nicolaus Copernicus revolutionized our understanding of the solar system. Ada Lovelace, often considered the first computer programmer, laid the groundwork for modern computing. The Industrial Revolution, driven by European innovation, transformed industries and societies, leading to the modern technological world we live in today. Today, Europe continues to be a hub of scientific research and technological advancement, building on its rich intellectual history to shape the future. Hey everyone, let's talk about Europe. Now, Europe's journey isn't just about cool ideas or new inventions. It's also about how their politics have changed over time. We're talking empires rising and falling, new countries being born, and alliances forming that changed the world. After two really bad world wars, Europe wanted a fresh start. Countries decided to work together to make sure they had peace, stability, and a good economy. This led to a group called the European Coal and Steel Community in 1951, which later became the European Union, EU, in 1993. The EU is a big deal. It's one of the biggest groups of countries working together in history. It started with just 6 countries and now has 27 members. They all believe in democracy, human rights, and following the law. The EU has helped its members grow their economies, keep the peace, and become more important in the world. They have groups like the European Parliament, the European Commission, and the European Court of Justice to tackle big problems like climate change, safety, and economic differences. They even have the euro, which is used by 19 countries in the EU. It's the second most traded currency in the world. The EU has made a big impact on global politics. It shows how countries can work together, and it even won a Nobel Peace Prize for helping create peace. The rules and decisions made by the EU often become the standard for the rest of the world, from protecting the environment to online privacy. Even though the world is complicated today, the EU shows that working together is important. It gives us hope that even with different cultures and languages, we can all agree on a better future. Europe's journey in politics, especially with the EU, shows that they really care about progress and unity. It reminds us that if we work together and have the same goals, even the most different people can find common ground and create a brighter future. Hey everyone, let's talk about Europe and its awesome impact on the world's culture. Europe has been super important for art, books, and music for a really long time, from way back in the Renaissance days to today. First up, art. Europe has been home to some super famous artists like Leonardo da Vinci, Vincent van Gogh, and Pablo Picasso. Their paintings are amazing, and they've inspired tons of other artists all over the world. Plus, European art movements like Impressionism and Surrealism were really creative and still influence art today. Next, let's talk about books. Europe has some seriously famous writers like William Shakespeare, Voltaire, and Jane Austen. They wrote incredible stories and poems, and their ideas are still important today. European writers also created genres like Gothic fiction, Romantic poetry, and modernist prose, which are all different kinds of writing that are read everywhere. And of course, music. Europe is where some of the most famous classical composers came from, like Beethoven, Mozart, and Bach. Their music is still played all the time. Even European folk music has influenced lots of other types of music, from classical to pop. And don't forget about the Beatles from the UK. They changed rock and roll forever, but that's not all. Europe also has cool things like the Cannes Film Festival, which celebrates great movies. Cities like Paris, London, and Vienna are filled with artists, writers, and musicians from all over. And the museums, theaters, and concert halls in Europe are full of amazing creative stuff. Basically, Europe's culture is a big deal, not just for Europe, but for the whole world. From art and books to music, Europe has given us so much. It shows how powerful creativity can be. So, yeah, Europe has a really important cultural history, and it's something that still inspires us today. Okay, so we've talked about how cool Europe's history and culture is. Now, let's talk about money. Europe's been a big deal in the world's economy for a long time. They've got lots of different businesses. They're really good at trading with other countries, and they make smart decisions about money. First up, businesses. Europe makes some of the best cars in the world, like Volkswagen, BMW and Mercedes-Benz, all from Germany. They also build awesome airplanes thanks to companies like Airbus. And let's not forget fashion. Brands like Chanel from France and Gucci from Italy are super famous everywhere. And hey, even in technology, Europe's got big names like Spotify from Sweden and ASML from the Netherlands. Now let's talk trading. The European Union, or EU for short, is like a big team of European countries. They trade a lot with each other and with other countries all over the world. They even have special agreements to make trading easier and cheaper. Some of their biggest trading buddies are the United States, China and Japan. So yeah, stuff made in Europe goes everywhere. Speaking of the EU, they've got some smart rules about money. They have something called the single market, which basically means it's super easy for businesses in different EU countries to work together. They also use the same money called the euro, which makes buying and selling stuff much simpler. Plus, the EU is really into protecting the environment, so they're putting a lot of effort into green energy. So in a nutshell, Europe is great at business, trading and making smart decisions about money. This helps them, and it also impacts the rest of the world. They bring new ideas, sell cool stuff and try to make the world a better place. See, Europe isn't just about museums and old buildings. They're like the cool, successful friend who's good at everything. Okay, so we've talked about how strong Europe is in terms of money and stuff, right? Now let's see how they're helping with the big problems everyone's facing these days. First off, climate change. Europe's leading the way in dealing with this whole global warming thing. The European Union, that's like their big team, wants to be carbon neutral by 2050. That means they don't want to add any extra pollution to the air. They're putting a lot of money into things like solar and wind energy. Plus they're working on cool stuff like electric cars and growing food in a way that's good for the planet. By doing all this, they're showing other countries how important it is to tackle climate change. Next up, let's talk about how countries get along. Europe's a big player in that too. The European Union speaks for all its member countries, kind of like their spokesperson. They work on trade deals, try to keep peace and make sure people's rights are respected everywhere. They've done a lot of important work in stopping fights, helping people in need and supporting groups like the United Nations. They really care about peace, and that makes a big difference in the world. Last but not least, let's talk about technology. Europe is like a big inventor's workshop. They're doing amazing things with artificial intelligence, like robots and stuff, and coming up with new medical treatments. Countries like Germany, France and the Netherlands have top-notch schools and companies that are always pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Europe believes in education and research, so they're always coming up with new gadgets and discoveries. So, whether it's fighting climate change, making sure countries are friends, or inventing cool new stuff, Europe is shaping our future in a big way. They're not just holding on to their history, they're building a better world for all of us, a world that's cleaner, fairer and more connected. And that's what makes Europe really special.